Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Nadine Bentis. I am the Program Manager for the Troesh Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation at UNLV. I want to take this opportunity and during this very difficult time for our students and for everyone at society at large to highlight the great students we have at UNLV. I want to take this opportunity to introduce Shivangi Khurania. I had the pleasure of meeting Shivangi at a lunch actually held by the Hospitality School, where she told her amazing story. So I wanted to take this opportunity to highlight her and give her a chance to tell her story, to share her inspiration to everyone right now. So it's my pleasure to introduce Shivangi Khurania. She's currently a master's student in Management Information Systems, and let me hand it over to her now. Thank you, Shivangi, for joining us today.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for the introduction. Hello, my name is Shivangi, and I am in my first semester studying Management Information Systems at UNLV. And just to kind of give you a little background on who I am and what the purpose of this entire talk would be is I'm an international student from India, and I came to United States in 2014, so it's been 6 years, and I haven't left the country since. So right before when I was in India, I'm actually like the youngest kid in my entire family, and I grew up as a very sheltered kid. So I had like a 5 p.m. curfew. I didn't really hang out with friends much. My friends were basically my parents, but there was a lot of things that I thought were normal when I was growing up because that's all I learned culturally. And one of the few things that I always saw was, how differently men and women were treated in the society and what was expected out of them. So being the youngest, I saw everybody in my family and everybody in the little society that I lived in, that women were supposed to get married after they got their education, and their primary job was just to have a household and maintain the household. And if they were lucky, they would join the family business of the guy that they got married to from an arranged marriage. And for me, that always bothered me because I always thought differently, and I felt like I couldn't just settle for that, and I wanted much more out of that in my life. So, and I wanted to be independent. I wanted to be somebody that gives to their family and supports the family as much as a guy can do. So, after seeing a lot of tough situations and circumstances in India, I decided that I wanted to go to America and study. So I first came here in 2014, and I was in Houston, Texas. And I started going to school for hospitality management. That's where I also have my uncle and auntie and my few cousins. And I went there for a year, but after my first semester, I realized that I wasn't growing to my full potential because I was still around people that I was comfortable with, that were my uncle and auntie. So I wanted to expand and I wanted to grow as much as possible. So one day I saw that UNLV had the best program for hospitality in the world, and I thought that would be the perfect opportunity for me to leave Houston and go to UNLV, to a better school for a better education and better opportunities. So I did that. In 2015, I came here, and I decided that in the course of 4 years that I was going to be at UNLV, I was going to use the full potential of being at UNLV and be the best student out there that somebody would want to recruit, so I can potentially get my visa sponsored. And I had just decided in my head that I was not going to go back to India, and I was going to use all my breaks just working and getting different opportunities and experiences. So long story short, in the 3.5 years that I was in UNLV studying hospitality management, I had the opportunity to live in about 7 different states and work at 7 different hotels, most of which were luxury hotels, and get amazing experiences. When I was at UNLV and not working, I was using my time to volunteer. Especially my most favorite time was when I was volunteering at Junior Achievement and teaching elementary students the importance of education and motivating them to not give up because they necessarily weren't from the best family in town. So I was devoting my time volunteering, going to the rescue mission and helping serve food, just doing, things to give back to the community. And other than that, when I was in school, I was also really involved. I made sure that I was the top student. I revived the honor society at Hotel College. And I also was chosen to represent my college on UNLV magazine in spring of 2018. They also chose me to be on the cast for Bar Rescue for the episode that represented my college, and that basically gave a shout out how our school was ranked. So I got to be a part of that, and I shared my story there. Overall, I had an amazing experience because of the dean of the hotel school, my mentors I have, and all the support that I got. And because of all of that, I was really lucky to get a job after I went to, I completed my degree in fall 2018, and I went to Santa Barbara to open a hotel. It was great, but because of a few unfortunate events, I had to quit my job. And that was around the same time I was just leaving a very toxic relationship. So overall, I was really sad, and I was just broken down because I felt like there was no purpose in my life left, and I didn't know what I was doing or what was going to happen. And then just going back to my story back in India, according to my parents and the family that I had, everybody thought it was the perfect time for me to get married because I already had graduated college. I was not in a relationship anymore, and it was going to be perfect for me to get married. And I understand their part because they love and care for me. They want the best, but that's not what I wanted. I wanted to be my own person. And what actually changed everything for me, because I would have gone along with my parents' will, but my parents actually found somebody for me. He was really wealthy, which was great, but the guy's parents told my parents that they didn't want any dowry from them, because that's how the tradition is. You give dowry when a female gets married. They didn't want any dowry from my parents, and they told my parents that they thought I was really pretty, which was, thank you, but they said that I was really pretty, and that they really liked the fact that I studied hospitality in the United States. So they didn't want anything from my parents, they just wanted me. And that was the moment where I felt like somebody just called me a commodity. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't take it, because that is not true. And that was the barrier I wanted to kind of break from when I was little. And it just kind of all came back to me, and I realized that even though I'm in a bad place in my life at that moment, I had to push through to find something better for myself. So after a month or two, I kind of got myself together, and I decided that I was gonna apply for grad school, and the best choice for me was to get skill set. And I was interested in analytics all throughout hospitality school. I was close to it, so I saw that there was a MIS degree available at UNLV, and I applied, and I luckily got in.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I decided that I wanted to go back to school. I wanted to get a skill set, so that hopefully one day, once I have a skill set and a master's degree, I can find an employer down the road, or even pursue a PhD to get more educated, in hopes that I can stay in the United States and I could be an independent woman that can potentially support her parents down the road, and be that guy that Indian families always aspire to have as their son. Even though my parents have a son who's great, but I also want to be that person. So that's what happened. And in short, I made my decision in November of 2019 that I was gonna come back to Las Vegas. And I wanted to be financially independent, and I didn't want any support from my parents, or my family, even though they would support me. So I decided that, for that reason, would be a great choice. After I came here, for the first 2 months, I worked really hard to get a graduate assistantship, which I have now. Um,
Congratulations.
I have it for starting fall of 2020.
Mhm.
And what it's basically going to do is just going to reduce my tuition down
Mhm.
all the way to in-state tuition, which is going to help me a lot. And right now, as of right now, I am in grad school and I am just finishing up my spring semester. And I'm hoping to graduate with a skill set in about 2021 December. So that's like my little story. I'm hoping that um, throughout this time that I have at UNLV and the amazing support that I have from the business school, thanks to you and thanks to everybody else that have been so amazing, that I'm able to accomplish my goal, and one day you know, I can be like the daughter that my parents always, like that they can be proud of me, and that like, my family that has supported me throughout everything, like my uncle, my grandma, my
Mhm.
parents, like I want to make sure that I am not letting that go to waste, and I want to get something out of that.
Well, I'm sure your parents are very proud of you already for all the accomplishments that you've done. And thank you so much for sharing your story. It's not a small story, it is an amazing story that I think a lot of students will find enlightening and inspirational. And thank you so much for sharing that especially during this time. What are I guess, 2 to 3 pieces of advice you'd have or you want people to take away from your story?
So I necessarily don't have like advice about my story, but I wanted to share 2 or 3 things that I keep very near and dear to my heart. And I always think about it when I'm in a difficult time, or if I am confused about something, and I always keep that in the back of my mind. So I want to share that. So one of the first things is that I always, whenever I'm in a hard situation, I always try to think that, every successful person that I've met in my life, they've had hard situations as well. And they have probably gone through similar situations like I have, and even something worse. And what they did differently than everybody else was that they kept pushing. And even if it wasn't big steps that they took smaller steps during those difficult times that just helped them, bring them that extra mile, and that helped them, you know, keep working towards their goal in some way or form, even though it wasn't big. And I feel like that's the difference that, um, that's what makes a difference in somebody's life. So I think that I always keep that in my mind every
Mm-hmm.
time I'm hard. I try to keep I try to keep doing things that keep me motivated, and even in hard times. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and the second thing is, I really love this one quote that was like in The Office by Wayne Gretzky.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Perfect.
the quote says, "You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take." Wayne
Mm-hmm.
Gretzky, Michael Scott.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and that's something that always I keep in my mind, because it's either now or never. And that's the choice everybody makes, consciously or unconsciously. So that's something I keep in mind. And then the third thing is that I always try to remind myself, and I'm still working on it, is that um, everybody, like, I have had really hard times in my life, and I'm sure everybody else has as well. And I try to remind myself that it's important that I embrace those hard times and I embrace what I learned from them than complaining about it. Because, I could go on and keep complaining over and over, but what's going to make me happy and what's going to bring a positive light in my life is that I look back at those situations and I try to get something positive out of it, because that's what's going to keep me positive, and it's going to you know keep me going in a way that, even though something happened in the past, I learned something out of it, and next time I want to try and do something better and do it in a different way. So those are the 3 things that I think are very special to me, and I wanted to share them.
I think those are amazing pieces of advice, especially now. Everyone can look at their circumstance now and say, this is so hard, or why is this happening? But it's so good that you say that you can take even a hard situation and learn from it and what can you take away from it. And I love the quote also that, you have to try. Like if you don't ever try, you never know what you're not going to be able to do. So at least you try. Yeah, you try to do it, and then if it fails, it fails. But if you didn't try, you never know. So those are great pieces of advice and takeaways that people can take away and even thrive during this difficult time. So I just want to thank you again for joining us today. If someone wants to get a hold of you or reach out to you, is there a way they can follow you on social media or email you or anything like that?
Yeah, of course. So my social media it's my full name,
Mm-hmm.
Shivangi Khurania. And you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, or you could also email me. And it's my first name, that is
Mm-hmm.
Shivangi.Khurania@gmail.com. And I'm sure that you will have that information somewhere down below.
So yeah, I'll definitely post this. I'll post her contact information as well, so students can definitely contact you and follow up with you. But thank you again, Shivangi, for being part of again, this is our first time we're doing a student highlight video on our Troesh page on the Lee Business School YouTube. So I hope you enjoyed this first interview. Thank you again, Shivangi, for joining us, and stay safe and stay healthy during this time and continue to be a source of support for our students. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.